On today's show, we get our first look at Birds of Prey. Black Panther takes home a surprising award, and check this out. The Invisible Man has a director. Will Chevy Chase reprise his role? Movie Talk starts right now. It's a
Memoirs of an Invisible Man?
Invisible Man joke directed by John Carpenter, I believe. Shocking twist of events. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Collider Movie Talk. My name is Mark. That is John Stephen Rocha. That is Haleigh Foutch, and I am so excited to be back in my adopted home of Los Angeles because it's much warmer here, but I would be remiss if I did not thank everybody in New York City for such an amazing weekend filled with stand-up and movie trivia schmodown glory. We had such a great time with y'all. Thank you for taking us in, treating us like one of your own. Well, we had a couple of your own with us in Christian Harloff coming back to his hometown. It was a great event. It was just such a magical weekend through and through. As far as the movie trivia schmodown, will be up on our YouTube channel on Friday. In the meantime, you can see tweets, you can see Instagram. I would try to avoid spoilers because two incredible matches went down and a lot of carnage in between. So thank you once again. We had a blast. When we kick off our story with the box office and the box office, did Haleigh Rocha, did you guys go to the movies this weekend?
No, I was moving all weekend, so I know. I know.
You moved all weekend.
Yes.
Haleigh, what's your excuse for not going to the movies?
I was taking it easy, watching movies from 2010, you know, just lounging.
Which movie from 2010 were you?
I don't even know if that's the year. I just made that up. I watched The Other Guys.
I was going to guess Inception, but Other Guys, great. A lot of funny moments in that. So everybody had a good weekend. And Glass had a good weekend in that it's #1 at the box office again. Not astounding numbers. It took about a 50% dip from week #1 to week #2, but it's still nice on a budget of $20 million that M. Night Shyamalan's closure of his trilogy did $18.8 million at the domestic box office. Now, worldwide, the movie has surpassed $160 million worldwide, so I'm sure the powers that be in a producerial mode are very happy about that number. Critics, middling. Some fans aren't really responding to it the way that they certainly did with Split or with Unbreakable, but it's still making some bank, and so I think that Shyamalan retains his name as far as a guy who can make a movie on a budget that can get you nice returns. We also have the upside at #2 with $11 million. Aquaman, #3. Perhaps the biggest story of the box office this weekend is the fact that Aquaman is now the highest grossing DC movie of all time worldwide at the box office. It's over $1 billion. Congratulations to that. I think it's the second highest grossing Warner Brothers film of all time behind some Harry Potter movies. So congratulations to the boy that could swim for days, the kid who would be king, $7 million, and rounding out the top 5, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, using some of that Oscar glory to $6 million, rounding out the top 5. Haleigh Foutch, is it Aquaman? Is it Glass? What's the biggest story of the box office to you?
Oh, it's Aquaman. That's a huge record to break. That's amazing. I love it. I like Aquaman a lot. I had a blast with that movie. I can see why people might be repeat viewing it, why it could have word of mouth with friends. Like, this is really fun. Go see this. Have an easy time at the movies. And I just like that for the first time in ages, like, Gotham isn't the home of DC. Now it's Atlantis. That's awesome. That's a way more colorful, interesting place for the DC universe to be after being in Gotham for so many decades.
Yeah, that's right. And it's not as cold. Well, it might be cold, and it's kind of more rainy if you think about it in a certain sense, but it did break the Gotham record that was set by The Dark Knight Rises. Not The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight Rises was the highest growing movie to that point. Rocha, you're sitting in between two Aquaman enthusiasts, and I can just see you squirming there like a fish out of water. How does this news hit you today?
Hey, listen, what can you say? Congratulations to Aquaman. Congratulations to James Wan and DC and WB. The changes you've made have obviously worked. And the DC fans, you cannot discount the power of the DC fans. Even when you give them something that maybe isn't 100% a great movie to some people, they will come out and support it over and over again. Look, Suicide Squad made $700-something million, right? It was only Justice League that was the one that really underperformed. Why? Because you cut Zack Snyder's vision out at the knees. Whether you should have or should have not is a debate, but the DC fans showed you, we don't like you doing this. This is the way we like our movies. Let the directors do their movies. So James Wan did it. Honestly, it's shocking on so many levels. My opinion on the film withstanding, the fact that it's Aquaman, one of the lesser known characters, one of the most made fun of characters in the Justice League. It's Jason Momoa stepping in completely. Momoa doesn't have a box office pedigree. Conan the Barbarian didn't do that well, so you throw this in there and you're like, this is incredible as well. And the fact that it's an expansive film that people want to go back to see multiple times, and obviously people are bringing like friends and family. You don't make that billion without out doing that. So give it its props, give it its love, and we'll see what this does going forward for the DC universe. If this was just a one-off and James Wan was successful with this, if they're going to keep going in this vein, or if they're just going to open the door up to all different kinds of interpretations. Because coming down the road just this year, we have so many different approaches and looks and feels to these DC movies.
Yeah, Glass not quite yet passing Split, and it may not pass Split. It's still working its way up to Unbreakable in a domestic setting, because it still has about $22 million to get to Unbreakable's tally. And again, Unbreakable came out when tickets were a little bit cheaper than they are today. And then Split came out a couple of years ago, and I don't know if it's going to reach those lofty standards. Is it simply a matter of audiences and critics not responding to Shyamalan the way that they were with Split? I mean, I think that it's partly that, but I also think that it's just, if I see a movie, and I'm not necessarily going to ruin it for my friends, but I am going to tell you, look, this does not have the gigantic, mind-blowing twist at the end, like what you got with particularly Split, and to a lesser extent Unbreakable. So maybe people are like, well, if there's not a huge split, it's not going to be spoiled for me. I'm going to be okay not seeing this and putting it off.
Yeah, well, it's a tough question to look at, because I mean, the film was only made for $20 million, so it's making money. It's made its money. The studio's making money off the film officially, and it'll be for a while. But the question you had to ask yourself is, well, if it doesn't hit the Split numbers, does that mean there shouldn't be any more from this universe? Because I don't want to spoil anything, but there's possibilities with this movie that there could be more. You never know. So I enjoy that, but I think also, it may also be like, well, look, Shyamalan is better in an even smaller box with an even smaller story to tell. I enjoyed the film. I've seen it twice now in the theaters. I enjoyed it, but I get, as Haleigh said about Aquaman, I get why people have issues with Glass and what they didn't like about it. Me personally, I enjoyed it, but I know why people don't like. And that word of mouth with a film like this is very powerful, and you can tell from the box office results. And it'll probably just keep getting lower and lower more quickly than they would like.
Yeah, Haleigh, seems like word of mouth really helped Split and is harming Glass to some extent. Is that how you see it?
Yeah, I do. I think it's sort of the opposite of what I said with Aquaman, where everyone's like, this is fun and easy, go watch it, you'll have a great time. That's not a fun, easy movie to watch, and it's, I think, for a maybe pretty specific subset of people who would like it. I think that word of mouth is huge for a movie like this, and with Split, you also had the factor of, it was like, oh my God, you guys, he did a good twist again. Like, it had huge buzz factor, and everybody was like, oh, I can't tell you what it is, but wait till you see it. You're not going to believe what the end of this movie is. That goes a long way for a box office tally, and this movie just doesn't have that hype. Put on top of that, pretty negative reviews, pretty so-so word of mouth, and I think it's right about where I'd expect it to be. I don't think that they'll make more in this universe necessarily, and I think that Shyamalan has pretty much said he's done with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to see him go in a different direction, just because I think that 3 is good with this, and let's go somewhere else. Let's go back to, again, pretty much what he did with Glass, but also what he did with The Visit. Smaller budget, some interesting story that he just made up in his head. That's what I want to see, as opposed to adding on more chapters to existing material. A couple other fun notes in the box office is that Fathom Events, they have like big fights, and they have things like that are in theaters in a limited time. This weekend, 2 Fathom Events did pretty well, in the sense that they did over $1 million at the box office for one weekend. One was BTS, the boy band, did a live concert from South Korea, $2.5 million. Wow, it's pretty impressive. Nice. That tops the movie trivia schmodown just slightly. Live from Brooklyn.
It was sold out at the screening I went to.
You couldn't get in. Then they also did, I didn't know that they re-released The Wizard of Oz, 80th anniversary. 80 years old. God, are we all that old? 80 years old for The Wizard of Oz. Over $1 million in theaters. So if I gave you the chance to see one classic movie, but let's go back a little ways. Let's say classic in the classic sense of the word. Like if I give you Wizard of Oz, maybe a 10 Commandments, Lawrence of Arabia. I can go all the way up to 2001, Easy Rider. What are you guys looking at to go see if you could have Fathom Events release one big classic film like that back into theaters?
I'm going to let you go first because you're such an enthusiast for classic cinema.
Well, listen, I remember when we went on a college field trip to see the opening of Wizard of Oz, and it was very interesting to see that film go sepia tone in 1939. Let me tell you, we weren't doing that in 1939. It was pretty incredible to be in the theater to see that for the first time in 1939. But I would say if I'm going to go see a film I would say Ben-Hur. I would love to see Ben-Hur re-released now in a 4K adaptation. I would have said Lawrence of Arabia, but they've been releasing that over the last 3 or 4 years in 4K here in LA at the Arrow and the Egyptian, so you can see it in 4K. I would love to see Ben-Hur transferred in 4K. Such a classic epic film, an Easter film, and that chariot race alone, that's 45 minutes long. It's just to see that in 4K, and all those extras that are not CG, they're real people. To see that up on a big screen would be incredible to watch.
Now, including a guy that died. It's like there. It's in the movie. Pretty creepy to watch. Haleigh Foutch, what are you going to check out?
So I get like Rocha's angle on it, which is that it'd be really cool to see something with big effects from the old school days on the big screen. But I'd like to get a crowd experience I've never had before, like a classic comedy or a musical or something like that. So I'd really like to see Bringing Up Baby with a crowd or Top Hat with a crowd and get that energy, because I've only ever got to see those like alone at home. I think that'd be really fun to get a good laugh going on Bringing Up Baby with a full crowd of people.
I like that. Well, if I had one classic movie to check out in theaters again, I'm probably going to take Aquaman. Sorry, Rocha. That's what I'm going to. Our next story involves an upcoming DC project that could portend to big box office numbers once it comes out. Already a lot of buzz behind Birds of Prey. We hadn't seen any footage from it. We still haven't seen any footage from the movie, we don't think, but we did get a 20-second teaser vid that dropped this morning that features Margot Robbie back as Harley Quinn, dancing around, having a good time. There's a lot of quick shots of possibly some other superhero costumes in there, although no confirmation on exactly who it was. This is a quick vid, but it was official. It wasn't something that somebody shot and released on their own. It feels like an official studio tease for Birds of Prey, which comes out in about a year. It comes out February of 2020. It also stars people like Kathy Yan is directing it, obviously. Christina Hodson wrote it. Chris Messina is in there. Ewan McGregor, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Journey Smollett-Bell, Ellie J. Basco, and Rosie Perez as Renee Montoya. John Rocha, get a chance to check this teaser out. Did he get you all hyped up for Birds of Prey?
I tell you, it's an unusual teaser. It's a very interesting path. Once again, we just talked about Aquaman. These interesting steps that DC seems to be taking. This is fascinating, and it has a R-rated vibe to this, the EDM kind of hazy drug-induced type of feeling to it all, which I enjoyed and thought that was incredibly unusual. And it gives you a vibe of where it seems that they're going to take this movie, and that excites me on so many levels, because this could be a very dark story to tell, a fun but dark story to tell. You have Black Canary drinking. Like, they're going to dial into her being a hard-drinking songstress, punk rock girl. That's going to be fun to watch. Black Mask, they didn't put him in the Black Mask, which I thought was a nice to hold off on that. But Renee Montoya, I mean, seeing Rosie Perez as Montoya, what are they going to do with that? Cassandra Cain in there with her cast. Huntress, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, looking good in that way, too. So, overall, I liked this trailer. Got me excited. And, of course, Margot Robbie. Look, I'm not always, like, on the side of her version of Harley Quinn, but I want to see what she does with this in a film like this. You know, we had snippets of it we saw it in Suicide Squad, but I would like to see something more with this whole crew and under the direction of this director, and definitely off of Bumblebee, Christina Hodson's script. So I'm excited for this.
Yeah, Haleigh, I didn't get quite as much out of this as Rocha did. He seems to have gone into a lot of detail from a lot of quick shots, and I wasn't really sure what the hell was going on until I saw the end of it. And clearly a teaser that was made to go viral, which it did, but it's also like, okay, I see Margot Robbie's in this movie, and now I got to slow-mo the rest of it to get any sense from it. Is that enough to get the appetite wet for people who already want to see this movie, or people who have not heard about the movie yet? Is this going to get them locked in?
I think this is probably more for people who were already on board with it. Like, Harley's my girl. I'm so into that character. I love what Margot Robbie does with her. And as that person, as that huge fan, this was great for me. It was just what I needed to see. Sort of like Rocha said, it really gives you a taste of the flavor of the film more than anything. I love her, like, post-breakup, forget about you, shorter haircut. I love that instead of her put-in necklace, she has one that freaking says Bruce.
It says Bruce. What does that mean?
That's savage. That's like your nemesis is now on my neck. I'm over you. I love that. I love the whole vibe of it. Looks crazy, looks fun, looks weird, looks different. And I think that if DC is going to continue to like break these records and stuff, the best way to do it is to lean into all these unique vibes and feelings. Instead of trying to do, we'll get to another story today about how shared universes don't always work out when they don't come about naturally. So just let people do their individual stories and then see where that takes you.
You hear that, Invisible Man? Haleigh Foutch throwing shots at you.
Coming
already.
For you. Actually, no, I love Invisible Man idea. We'll get there.
Yeah, we were more talking about you, Tom Cruise, and the Mummy. Sorry to besmirch the sanctus name of Cruise. But before we move on to our next story, I do want to remind you all that we have a cool slate of things going on this week at Collider, including an all-new Collider Live tomorrow, a new Rule of Two, and all-new Sports Time happened today. Are you guys talking Super Bowl yet, or is that?
Not yet. We've got a Super Bowl preview coming up this week. Mark Ellis, you're going to be on it. You know that. Matt Knows is going to join it, and Makuga as well. So we're going to break down the Super Bowl, preview it. But today, we had Aaron Lasoul in, who is the co-host of the official Lakers podcast on Podcast One. So we talked about the Anthony Davis stuff, the LeBron James rumors with Luke Walton, and we touched on some stuff whether these Southern California officials were in the tank for the Rams against the Saints. So a lot of stuff was talked about, but honestly, one of the best shows we've done in a long time. Please watch it on Collider Sports. A lot of fun. You'll enjoy it.
Especially if you're a sports conspiracy theorist fan,
yes.
apparently. As for me, well, there's no rest for the wicked. Just got back from New York late last night, and now I get to go to Phoenix this Friday. I am so excited to get back to Arizona. Josh McCouga, Ken Knapsack will be co-hosting the event. They did very well in New York this past weekend, so they get another crack at it at Pub Rock. You guys can get tickets for the one show. We combine all the shows into one giant show. You can grab tickets right now at my website. Use the promo code SCHMOES, make it plural, and you get a nice discount. Again, that is Pub Rock Theater this Friday. You can get tickets at markellislive.com. Cannot wait to see all your smiling faces there. We're going to have a good time that night, and then we're probably going to go get drunk and play Top Golf on Saturday. So it's going to be a good weekend in Arizona. I also see here, Rocha, you and Dorian got to see Lego Movie 2.
We did.
It's a non-spoiler review.
Yeah, we did a non-spoiler review on Friday that dropped, and we also did a review of Genlock, if you want to go and watch that. It was a lot of fun doing this with Dorian on Friday.
Give me an applause meter of how much you liked Lego.
Lego Movie, I would say here. I really wanted here, but I would say here.
Okay.
Genlock all the way. Okay. If you go watch that on Rooster Teeth. But Lego Movie 2, it's a fun time. Just, for me, not as good as the first one, but still a fun time.
All right. Well, the first Lego Movie somehow did not get nominated for an Oscar for Best Animated Movie. Will that be the fate of the second one? We'll wait until those Oscars. These Oscars, boy, did this race for Best Picture just get hot with the win over the weekend for Black Panther, Best Ensemble, courtesy of the SAG Awards. This upset the previous front runners, if you want to say that. Films like Star is Born, films like Green Book, they were taking top prizes at numerous other awards show. Now, it should be noted that a film like Roma, which is considered the best picture front runner at the Oscars, or at least one of them, was not nominated for this award for SAG, but SAG sometimes is indicative of how Oscar voters may go. If that is the case, Rocha, the fact that Black Panther managed to take home such a prestigious prize, which personally I think is more than worthy of that film, do you think that we actually have a chance to get Black Panther a statue for Best Picture at the hostless Oscars?
I think it's certainly now. You can argue it is in pole position, which is so, to me, it's still mind-blowing and ironic. Nobody knew how this movie was going to do last February. Everyone was worried or concerned. Black superhero, black lead, what's this mean? It's dealing with these heavy issues. And here it is, almost sliding into pole position. A comic book superhero movie. Could it surprise everyone and win Best Picture? This gives a lot of credence to it. I worked the SAG Awards yesterday, one of the many jobs I do in this world. And it was a lot of fun to be in the truck and seeing the joy of the people who were there being interviewed on the red carpet, and then also afterwards, after they won in the interview room. That was so much. They love it, and so to me, that's exciting. But coming out of this, also the Rami Malek stuff and the Glenn Close stuff is very interesting. I thought Christian Bale had it in the bag, but the momentum seems to be building for Rami Malek here, and certainly Glenn Close with the wife, because only one out of the last 10 Best Actor SAG Awards didn't win the Best Actor at the Oscars. So that bodes well for Remy.
Yeah, more in the acting and directing categories in just one second. But first, Haleigh, I want to get your take on, I guess, number one, Rocha hiding in a truck during the SAG Awards. But also the fact that, look, I don't want to take anything away from Black Panther's win for the SAG Awards, because that's a great honor to have. But it's just the way that us movie folks get excited about this race is that it's a lot like the playoffs, where they won a game and it gets them to the next round, but the ultimate prize, the Super Bowl of movies, is the Oscars. So do you think that this SAG award indicates Black Panther is in pole position to win the greatest of statues.
You just had to use a sports analogy, didn't you?
You would be right on pace with me.
Yeah. I don't know what any of that means, but I probably don't think this is going to take Best Picture. It certainly elevates its chances, and there is that interesting history where a lot of times the Best Ensemble will go on to be the Best Picture winner. And it's worth noting that I believe the SAG branch is, or not the SAG branch, but the acting branch of the Academy is the biggest one. So that's why these awards tend to predict a lot more, because they have a lot of swing. I just don't see it taking out Roma, personally. And especially because that film wasn't nominated for this award. I don't know. I would be interested to see that, just because it'd be really historic and surprising. And I don't think that any of the nominations this year were particularly surprising or bold. So, like, I'd love to see a left swing like that out of nowhere.
Yeah, and I'd also love it to just be a shot across the Oscars themselves bow and say, we don't need a Best Popular Film category. We just need to consider all these movies that have been made into one Best Picture. I still think Roma is in, to use your phrasing, pole position to win. It's so hard to tell. Was it Black Panther because it won a SAG award, or was it Roma, which did not have a chance at the SAG awards because it was not nominated for that? So I still think Roma, slight favorite, but Black Panther, there's a lot of chance that people are giving it right now, and I would be one of those that would be rooting for Black Panther. Not going to be disappointed if Roma wins or Black Panther. I'll take either one. Happy to see that. And in that vein, I was also happy to see Rami Malek, because I thought he was far and away the best acting performance of the year. Glenn Close also winning. It's interesting to note, as Haleigh said, that only once in the last 10 years has the SAG winner for Best Actor not also won the actor prize. So when you mentioned that, hey, these are an indication, particularly with the actors who are voting for their fellows, that can translate into Oscar glory. A little bit better than Best Picture. 5 years. The last two Best Pictures. There's only been two Best Pictures that have come from the SAG Award win in the last 5 years. So
I just wonder if it does mean, because we talked about this on Collider Mailbag, Jeff Snyder and I, over the weekend, which win would be more historic? Black Panther winning for Marvel or Roma winning for Netflix? And it was a good conversation to have, but me personally, I think it would be more historic for Marvel, for Black Panther to win. I get the Roma conversation, because of course it's, being Latino, I get it. Like, it's a foreign language film. It's first one done chronicling these type of people. There's a main feature film like this. I get it, and Netflix as well, getting even more credibility as a burgeoning film studio. But with this, Black Panther winning would be incredible on so many levels, would open the door, would attract even more great directors, actors, producers, writers to go do comic books or superhero films, and would destroy that stigma about them that has been fostered by Jodie Foster and, to a lesser degree, Ethan Hawke, which of course Clay clarified his comments. But we hear that going under the undercurrent, right, of people who are like, where's the artistry of films? Where's the artistry of films? And it's like, well, there are avenues for them. It's not where it used to be, but there are avenues for them. If you can do a comic book superhero that's also a Best Picture film, that's a good thing all around for that genre.
Yeah, Haleigh, I do like that question. Is it more historic if Black Panther wins or if Roma wins? I would personally lean towards Black Panther, because if you call Black Panther being the Marvel property and Roma being a Netflix, so if it's Marvel versus Netflix, I call that a wash as far as being taken seriously. So then you look at the actual source material, and I think that Roma feels more like an Oscar-y caliber movie on its heel than Black Panther does. I
would agree with that exactly, pretty much. I can't really value one over the other in terms of like history, in terms of the whole filmmaking industry. Streaming versus Marvel, those are both huge wins to take home. But I do think you're right in that Black Panther feels the farthest away from what we would expect from a Best Picture winner, where Roma is right in that wheelhouse.
That's right. Well, our next story has Vanity Fair once again trying to teach Entertainment Weekly how to do set photos. Once upon a time in Hollywood, it stars a whole lot of famous people, including Leonardo DiCaprio, Brad Pitt, Margot Robbie, and a bunch of others. This is Quentin Tarantino's new movie, set to come out next summer, that has is it this summer? Oh my God, I'm so excited about this movie now, because it takes place in the late 60s, around the time of the Manson murders. They are said to be the backdrop of this story that focuses on an actor and his stunt double, both kind of looking for work and probably getting into a little bit of trouble that same summer where the brutal Manson murders took place. We got our first images courtesy of Vanity Fair, like I said. Haleigh Foutch, you take a look at these pics. What does it do for your excitement, your anticipation level, your desire to see Once Upon a Time, ... in Hollywood?
I was right. I was like so happy until that ellipses came up. I don't care for that sassy little title business. But the pictures are great.
Feel that bad for people who have to write that if we ever ask it in a schmodown. Like, do you have to get the 3 dots?
Oh, gosh. I feel bad for myself for having to do it in headlines now through the summer.
As a writer, you're going to have to,
I love the pictures. They look great. This was when we did our most anticipated for the year. This was one of my picks. I was already very curious, very on board. This just makes me more curious is the bottom line, because we don't really know anything about this movie, and especially the element of the Manson murders and what role Margot Robbie as Sharon Tate is going to play. She's focused in a lot of the photos and things we've seen from set so far, but we've also heard that this isn't a movie necessarily directly about the Manson murders. So I'm very curious if it's going to stick to history, if it's going to be revisionist like Inglourious Bastards, what her role in the film is. I guess the more we see her featured prominently, the more curious I get about the angle of the actual plot.
Yeah, and Rocha, given what we know about this movie, one could be forgiven if they assume that the Manson murders are going to be the headlining factor.
Yeah.
If you think about other movies that are based, or at least are loosely based upon brutal murders, if you look at something like Zodiac or even something like Summer of Sam, I mean, those took center stage. It appears to not be the case with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood from what we heard, but then you see these photos, what do they indicate to you?
Well, I think it's going to be more a DiCaprio film than it is anything else. It seems like, because he's the one in those pictures that it has the most costume changes, right? And I think that's interesting because I'm sorry, once again, look at the wrong guy. You're chronicling the different shows he's on, and you're watching what he, the FBI show, this outlaw show that he's supposed to do, shout out, and this other show, the Hullabaloo thing. I mean, seeing DiCaprio like this is such an interesting shot. But I think I take Haleigh's point in an interesting way, and I was thinking about it as she was speaking about this. All the shots of Margot Robbie as Sharon Tate are from, like, in essence, like she's not looking at you, you're watching her, right? Whereas the Pitt and the DiCaprio shots look more like you're involved with them. They want to reach out to you. They want to get something from you. Whereas she's kept at a bit of a distance, and I wonder if those are being released on purpose to give you the idea of how they're going to approach the Sharon Tate story. Because to be honest with you, I don't need another Sharon Tate movie. I've read so much about this and watched so many movies about it, both TV and feature, that I'm good. So I'm excited to a degree for the movie. I want it to be good and well done. I'm interested to see what they do with the historical aspects of the movie. And there are some troubling things I read about over the weekend about an actor in the movie that I didn't even think about. And now I'm like, let's see how this all plays out. Because if they make it like, well, Sharon Tate is the object and they have to watch her getting murdered, then I don't know how that's going to play out, to be honest with you. I like it better if they're focusing on the DiCaprio and the Brad Pitt character, because I think DiCaprio is supposed to be her neighbor when the murders go down. So I don't know what role they're going to play in all of this.
Oh, we'll find more out when we see our first trailer, and then finally when we get to check out the movie. This year, August, is when the film comes out. Our last story, and then we go to live Twitter questions. So start tweeting us right now at Collider Video. Use the hashtag Collider Movie Talk. The Invisible Man. Well, the whole dark universe from Universal has been invisible for a while. There's been no news, no updates. When we were excited about it because we had Tom Cruise playing the Mummy, and that was going to kick off this new dark universe, and then the Mummy, not so much, and all these other casting announcements and all these other A-listers that were going to play various monsters and creatures, it just all kind of fell in upon itself. Like the House of Usher, hey, that's Edgar Allan Poe. He likes horror. So if you're a horror fan, we finally have some good news for you. Leigh Whannell, the director of Upgrade, is going to reteam with Jason Blum as producer on that film with Blumhouse Productions to make Invisible Man. Now, Invisible Man, obviously somebody who was going to be incorporated, I believe, by Johnny Depp in the previous Dark Universe. Have no idea who's going to play him, but this is going to be Leigh Whannell's vision for Invisible Man, is the way it's being built, as opposed to, hey, don't worry, guys, we got it right. Now we're going to launch a whole new Dark Universe. They haven't announced any other movies. This is the only announcement that they have. It's a big shift for the studio because they're going away from that star-studded shared universe, and they're going to focus more on what this particular director, Leigh Whannell, who I was a big fan of the movie Upgrade, so I liked that it was smaller in the budget. I liked that it didn't have a lot of pomp and circumstance behind it. Smaller movie that came out. Haleighh, can we have Invisible Man be a smaller movie that gets released, or are we automatically just going to assume walking into this that it's going to be this big spectacle because it's going to launch a shared universe?
No, I think that ideally what they're doing now is more in line with what I just said about DC, is that they're letting each filmmaker really bring their stance, their view on the character, make it the world that they want to make it without focusing on making it a world for all the characters. And I think that's really, I'm like swinging from the rafters. I'm so happy, popping bottles of champagne. Like, that's the way to do it. I think I've said before on this show that I wanted them to team with Blumhouse. So the fact that this first one, they're bringing in Jason Blum, who's proven himself a phenomenal producer of genre content. Hell yes. The talent that he has in his little notebook that he can contact and reach out to, Leigh Whannell is a great starting figure for that list of talent. I love Upgrade. My hope for The Invisible Man, because we saw what kind of physical performance Logan Marshall Green can do, is that he'll be the one all wrapped up doing all that acting.
I could totally be up for that, yeah.
So I'm thrilled. I do think it can be a smaller movie that does well financially. I think it's perfect. I think Blumhouse is the perfect partner for it. Leigh Whannell's a great filmmaker. Yes.
Yeah, and if you get hired to participate in what could be this shared universe, again, I don't want to put that onus on it just yet, but it seems like it's more of a director-driven universe, because, as Variety, who reported this, noted that they're looking at more unique spins to the characters that aren't necessarily beholden to their classic source material. The quote was, "The titles will be rooted in horror, with no restrictions on budget, tone, or rating, and filmmakers open to take some liberties with the origin stories to update the material for modern audiences." That sound good to your ears, Rocha?
Oh, yeah, I think it does. Absolutely. I think we can really bury these shared universe ideas. I think it's like when someone announces, hey, we got 6 or 7 Power Rangers movies. Like, no, let's get one right. Let's get one good one. I feel the same way about this. And you look what happened to Harry Potter. Look what's happened with these Fantastic Beasts. That's supposed to be a shared universe, Harry Potter. They retconned it, and look, people went crazy about that second film. So I just think it's a massive mistake all around to do these shared universes. Start off with a good one. You can drop seeds or whatever down the road. To make it such an overt attempt to create a shared universe, I think, puts too many conflicting ideas into play. We don't know what Feige's idea was for the MCU before he started it. We don't know if he had this whole thing map laid out like people like to give him credit for. We don't know. But I know he started with Iron Man, and it was a good film. It stands on its own. The only thing that referenced a shared universe, I think, were the post-credit scenes. Maybe there's a couple of allusions to other things, but there wasn't anything overt about it. And I think that's a great way to start this. Invisible Man is kind of like Aquaman and the forgotten, like monster, universal monster from that stable. And that's a great way to start. And it's an interesting story of why he becomes the Invisible Man, what the tragedy that befalls him, the romantic stuff that gets. So there's a lot here that, if in Leigh Whannell's hands, could be very interesting to play with. And I agree with both of you. I thoroughly loved Upgrade. I'm super pissed there's not a 4K version of Upgrade, because that sci-fi is so beautiful. From what I saw in the theater, I would love to see it in a 4K transfer. So please, Leigh Whannell, anybody, Blumhouse, anyway, 4K this damn thing. I mean, how can you have a 4K Mummy, but you don't have a 4K this? It makes no sense.
Yeah, it's a pretty exciting time. Finally, if you are a horror fan or a fan of Invisible Man, been a while since. Was the Chevy Chase movie the last time we saw? Which is ironic to say, an Invisible Man.
What's the Kevin Bacon one?
Hollow Man.
Yeah,
Hollow Man, kind of a different take, but that's something that you could have, is that it's taking some of the classic source material but then twisting it to fit a more modern vision. So certainly in the vein of a Hollow Man. Kevin Bacon, Elizabeth Shue, good film. I think I remember the first hour of it, no idea how it resolves itself. So I don't know if Kevin Bacon reappears and moves to a small town and brings rock music to it. No idea what happened. What I do know is that it is now time for live Twitter questions. So we kick off with our old friend Chris Woodburn. C-Dub is writing in. He says, hey Ellis, you rocked that opening monologue of the Schmodown Awards. Thank you. And he says, what trailers do you hope to see during the Super Bowl? Ooh. What movie trailers do you think we could see during the Super Bowl? We always get a look at some of the biggest budgeted movies that are be coming out the rest of the year. According to a report that I read earlier today, Disney has bought an undisclosed amount of ad space during the Super Bowl, which Disney has some money to spend, so that could be Captain Marvel, could be Avengers, could it possibly be streaming service? Could it possibly be Episode 9? I'm gonna say it's not episode.
No.
I think Celebration is episode 9. I imagine. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, it's about time for a trailer, I would think. The thing's coming out, in July? So it's only a few months away. I think it's time for
first
a trailer.
weekend in August is its official release.
Okay,
so
well,
could be that. I mean, the smart money if I'm betting on one movie to definitely have it, I would say Captain Marvel is the shoe-in because that's the next Marvel film to be released. But I would also keep your eye open for Godzilla King of Monsters. I think that's going to have one.
I think that could happen. I think we'll definitely see something from Hobbs and Shaw. It's about time for something official from that.
Great point.
That seems like the exact right audience to debut that to. And I'm very freaking here for it. I can't wait. I am very proud Fast family. Love those movies. Give me Hobbs and Shaw.
God, finally, Haleigh and I agree on something. thoroughly would go see that movie. I would love to review a Hobbs and Shaw with Haleigh. That would be a blast.
That would be fun.
In a car, as we're driving, as we're racing
I
a
want
car.
you guys just to have like a Hobbs and Shaw adventure.
Oh my God.
Who gets to be
in a heartbeat.
Who do we pitch this to?
Yeah, seriously, in a heartbeat.
I just want to be Kurt Russell. I just want to hang out, get a couple lines, and then get to chill while you guys go off and do all the dirty work.
Do you think the teaser trailer teased at the possibility of a Birds of Prey trailer, or is it too early?
You never want to
Joker.
say too early, but
is the Joker trailer possible?
I don't.
That could happen.
I don't see the Joker being that kind of movie. Same reason why I don't think we're going to see anything from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I just don't see it being the movie that feels like it needs to spend $5 million or whatever you need on ad spend. I think that both those productions have enough time to ramp up advertising in different ways using the names certainly that are involved with really both productions. You know, I mean, you have Quentin Tarantino, Brad Pitt, Leo, Margot Robbie. That's plenty to sell on that. And then with the Joker, you have Todd Phillips and Joaquin Phoenix. It's nice, but you also have the backing of DC and the fact that the movie's called Joker. I think that's going to get enough interest. So if I'm a studio, I'm looking at this and saying, do I need to have a Super Bowl trailer? I think it would give a big boost to obviously Captain Marvel or the Avengers, but to Godzilla. And I also looked at something that said no streaming service has bought a significant amount of ad time, which means that we're probably not going to have another surprise drop like what Netflix did last year with Cloverfield Paradox. But if they want to put Triple Frontier out right after the Super Bowl, sign me up.
I don't think we'll see Birds of Prey specifically because that was like camera test footage. I think even on Twitter, somebody pointed out there's a trash can in the back of one of the shots. They're not there yet. I don't think.
Yeah, they're hanging out, having a good time, excited about the movie as it should be. Satendra Banerjee says, "What's a past comic book movie that you feel should have gotten a Best Picture nomination?" And he says, "Other than The Dark Knight." So we're not allowed to say The Dark Knight. Is there
Logan?
Yeah.
Oh boy!
For the love of God!
It's like you were peering right into Ethan Hawke's first reformed soul.
I always forget this. Was Superman nominated? Christopher Reeve Superman?
I'm going to check on that.
Definitely deserved a nomination for Best Picture. We don't have anything right now without that 1978 superhero film.
I was going to say Superman. It was nominated for 4 Academy Awards. Special Achievement, something. Best Original Music Score.
Yeah, John Williams.
Best Sound Mixing. Best Film Editing. But
Best Picture.
I do not. But it won a Special Achievement Academy Award. It makes an exceptional contribution to motion pictures, but I think that was probably later.
That used to be the popular film category.
The old popular film category, yeah. So I assume you're going to take Superman.
Yeah, I would take Superman. I mean, Logan, obviously, but Superman, certainly, yeah.
I might take Superman 2, Haleigh. That was a damn good movie.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Logan. That's like, I love that movie. It was on my top 10 that year. I think it's a phenomenal film. Ethan Hawke was wrong. You can watch my interview with him. He says that's not quite what he meant.
That's right.
But no, I really love Logan, and I think it deserved a nomination.
Yeah, okay.
What about X2? Any of the X-Men movies?
If there was one, I would probably say X2.
Okay.
The Phantom was revolutionary when it came out. Batman 89. I would have liked to see Batman 89 just because I love that movie so much. But as far as a movie that actually is quality, not just comic book, but can sort of transcend, I'd probably say Superman 2, Logan. I think those are fair movies to say these are comic book, but also Oscar worthy. So, you know what? Batman Begins. Screw it all. Batman Begins.
There you go.
Might be my favorite comic book movie. Or Iron Man. Okay, now we're just getting off topic. All right, so I'll look for one more tweet, and then we'll call it a day. Marco Gonzalez is asking us, is Anthony Davis going to be a Laker after the trade deadline? I don't know that we answered that on Movie Talk. So
we discussed it on Sports Time, though.
All right. Broom Kid is going to close this out. And Broom Kid says, if you had an Oscar vote for Best Picture, Best Lead Actor, and Best Lead Actress, who are you voting for? Broom Kid starts us off, and Broom Kid says, voting for Vice, Christian Bale, and Olivia Colman.
Wow. Yeah, I'm confused about the Olivia Colman not winning. I mean, I'm very confused by this. I don't know if it's because, it can't be because she's British. I don't know if it's because British women all the time, But I wonder if it's just a small, because the wife hasn't got no buzz.
No.
The favorite has at least got some buzz and was nominated for Best Picture. So I'm confused about Olivia Colman, I guess. So I agree with that. I have to take Rami. I haven't seen anything that comes close to what Rami did in that film. You know, your feelings about the film aside, his performance is incredible. I put it akin to what Kilmer did with Morrison in The Doors. The Doors not a great film, but his performance is stellar. Or what Denzel Washington did with the Malcolm X. You know, same thing. And Best Picture, I guess. I have a feeling it stars. I want Black Panther.
This is who you're voting for. We're not predicting.
I have to vote for A Star Is Born.
Okay. Rocha looking down and to the right. So he's very guilty.
I can't shake that movie. Even with my issues with Gaga, I mean, the story, not her performance, the story of her ascendancy. That was it was a little too fast for me, but overall the film won't let go of me.
It was a little too fast for her character as well. Get really high, and then you gotta, that's kind of the arc of the movie, John.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks for teaching me about movies, Dad.
Haleigh Foutch. Who would you vote for? What does your heart tell you? To quote Anakin's mom, Shmi.
Sure. The favorite for Best Picture, Olivia Colman for Best Actress. I am scandalously not in love with any of the Best Actor performances this year, but if I had to pick one, probably Christian Bale.
Okay. I'm going to go Glenn Close. I'm going to go Rami Malek. And for Best Picture, I am voting for Black Klansman. Klansman.
Nice.
Again, because Creed 2 is not on here, so I would have voted for that one probably. But I think Black Klansman it's got everything you want when you go see a movie. It's got every genre. When you used to walk into Blockbuster Video, may it rest in peace, everything that you see in there is incorporated somehow, some way into Black Klansman. I thought it was fantastic. But yeah, I think Roma is still the front runner. All right, that's going to do it for us on this episode of Collider Movie Talk. So good to be back home, back in the studio, and have it be pretty warm outside. I want to thank Mr. John Rocha, Ms. Haleigh Foutch for joining me here today. You guys can catch an all-new Collider Movie Talk 4 p.m. PT tomorrow. Throw it to the Y to say goodbye. We'll see y'all then. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for the tweets. Hey, everybody. Mark Ellis here. Thanks for watching this episode of Collider Movie Talk. You want to watch more? Then click up here, or you can click right here for more great content from Collider. And if you haven't subscribed to Collider Video, do so right now and share this vid with your friends. Thanks for watching.